Hello and welcome to show number 74 of the 1420 Sports Podcast for beer, the sports talk, and a whole lot more. Brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the beer that never fills you up and will never let you down. I'm your host, Brent Radlinski, and along with Dave Van Robes, together but apart in Southern Alberta. Being a part of a curling bonspiel is a rite of passage as a Canadian. We'll chat about some legends of the game and how it's changed over the years. What ifs have been taken out of the world of sports with the addition of instant replay. We'll carry on the conversation from last show about bad calls that should have been overturned. The NBA had its All-Star game Sunday night with Team LeBron defeating Team Durant 170-150 in the most non-inspiring, non-competitive sports event in the history of sports. Is it time for these games to just go away? And also, the older we get, the more we see second and third generation athletes in all sports. We'll chat about some of the great father-son combos and talk why this is now a thing more than ever. Along with our usual Woody banner, we'll have Luke's Lock of the Week as well. So sit back, grab a beer, and let's get into her. All right, Dave, show number 74 of the 1420 podcast, ups and downs and ins and outs and everything else. More ups and downs, I think. But anyways, as I hit a button there and things almost went sideways on the Zoom call. But before we get rolling here on what on the fuck, I don't even know what to say. Because I'm speechless. Dak Prescott got a lot of money for a team that's not very good with the Dallas Cowboys. What's your thoughts on that? And does a team in that division need to pay a quarterback that much money to make the playoffs?
Yeah, only if you don't have what's the better option? Like, what was their better option? Because I heard them talking about this today. Dallas, they figure 5 quarterbacks are going to go in the draft before Dallas gets a pick. Now, I don't think Dak Prescott is anything great. I think he's very good. He hasn't proven himself, but he hasn't been given the talent in the team to prove himself. He's done what's asked of him. I guess you can't get much more wishy-washy than that answer. But I don't know. Like, what do you do?
Well, if you could, there's got to be, just because you play for Dallas, it's not an open checkbook because you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Are they going to win with Dak Prescott any more than they would have without him?
I don't know. They got a stud running back and a very good quarterback, and they have some really good receivers. If they can put some shit together. Before Prescott got hurt, it wasn't his fault they were losing games. Their defense was awful. They were losing games like 42-38 type things. They were in some crazy shootouts.
No, I agree. I just find it giving quarterbacks money just because you're supposed to is ridiculous to me. And then where you could go out and pay for some linemen and pay for some receivers and everything else, and you can win with
some defense.
You can win with some, exactly, because you can win games with manageable quarterbacks. You don't need to pay $42 million for a guy who hasn't done anything. But that's just I don't know. But Jerry Jones, he's nuts, and until they get rid of him, until Jones decides to step back, that's just what it's going to be, because they aren't worth anything. Like they're a terrible football team right now.
But like, one thing to look forward to if you are a Cowboys fan, like, they play in the worst division in football by a ton. Like who went to the playoffs last year? The Skins.
They were right there. Yeah, I can't remember. They were so bad.
I think it was Washington, but nonetheless, it was awful. It was because Philly laid down and to prevent in the last game of the year to prevent the Giants from getting
in. Yeah, they aren't worth a score of this, but anyways.
So you're only 2 wins away from being division champs in the playoffs. That's where I was going with that.
No, I guess so, but so there you go. Anyways, I'll get on to this week's topics. The Briar's on right now. It's another sign that spring's closer when the Scotties is first, the Canadian Women's Championship. And then the men's championship, the Briar has been around for longer than you and I almost put together. But sorry for our American listeners, we'll get to what the Briar and the Scotties is. It's the national championship of curling. For those who don't know what curling is, because there are people who do have no idea what curling is, and I apologize, not apologize, but we'll get on to a different segment.
Oh no, look it up. What everybody knows that they know because they saw it on. You see it on the Olympics now.
Yeah.
And so there's no excuse. Everybody knows what curling is now.
But no one understands
the enormity of what is the Briar and the Scotties.
It's a party. We'll get to that part of curling before too long. But did you participate as a young lad in Lethbridge, Alberta, in curling, or was it something you picked up later on and quite enjoyed it, so you just kept going?
Oh no, for sure. As an adult, like I played it in gym class and 1 or 2 bonspiels before I was 20, and that was like church bonspiels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't start curling until my 20s.
Yeah.
About late 20s. Didn't start curling league until I was probably in my 30s. So I've been curling in a league for 20 years now, 22 years.
The thing about curling that I like, because we all tried it, it's part of the curriculum in junior high, I guess. And if you carry on, you join the curling team, which is usually if they can find 4 people to be in the curling team at your local high school, that's who the curling team is. And then they go to bonspiels here and there, inter school teams and stuff. But it's harder than people think.
It's so much harder. Like it's getting to those just the perfect game status. It's really easy to do, but it's almost impossible to master. Like people can curl after a 2-hour lesson. Not well, but you can do it. And then the learning curve is you get better really quickly, but to be consistently good, and then to be consistently good takes work.
Well, the one thing that I like when I once every 4 years, and I was going to curl last year and then COVID and things and stuff and work commitments and everything else. If you can get a guy like me to throw lead stone, set up a guard consistently, that's half the battle, is it not?
Oh, just contribute. Yeah. And you know what? And with
and then as long as he wants to sweep as well.
Yeah, that also helps. But it's when you're I curl with like some older fellas and there's some of them that don't sweep very well at all. But they're older than me, and what am I gonna say?
Yeah.
But it's fun. Your bond's feeling for fun. Sure, you're keeping score and you want to win, but it's so easy to I won't say it's so easy. It's somewhat easy.
That's what, like, when curlers are really good, they're really good. There's no, like, they can make shots. They can dream up shots out of their hoop and off of this, off of that, and it goes into the house and whatever. And then they plan 3 and 4 shots ahead. That's, I think, the beauty of curling. And once a year, every Canadian who watches the Scotties or the Briar on a consistent basis, they become experts at curling, and they can pick up on the strategy behind the game and everything else. It's quite astonishing to watch. Quick question, Dave, before we move on to some legends of curling. Are you a card-carrying Canadian if you have not participated in a bonspiel from the age of, if you're 21, 22, let's go 25. If you're 25 and you've not participated in a bonspiel in one way or another, because we all know what goes on upstairs in a curling rink, can you call yourself a Canadian?
Well, yes, of course you can. Like, I think curling's a little bit in danger right now. Like, it's a dying sport. there's like in my curling leagues, it's men's league. It's so like I would say that there's more players over 45 than under 45.
Yeah.
Like and that's a concern that I know the Lethbridge Club has been putting some time and effort to not recruiting, but just exposing more people to curling and learn to curl programs and stuff like that. Because it's more than anything, like it's gets your ass out of the house in the middle of winter and it's fun. It's kind of like shooting pool, but it's a little bit more active than that.
Yeah.
And then you have a beer with your mates and drag your ass home.
The some of my favorite times at the Fort McLeod Bonds, I've been in a few times. The camaraderie and the people you see in the community you don't see on a regular basis, and the old timers come out and they tell you how good they used to be and everything else. It's fantastic. The beer bash, the Calcutta, all the stuff. What are those? The tear tickets that you win a couple bucks on. You playing Jump Van Halen, the Fort McLeod curling rink down on the piano. The Bonspiel is a fun time that I hope they don't go away. Like a whole year was lost basically this year because of COVID. But when you get involved in a Bonspiel, nobody gets mad at you if you don't do well.
You know, and that's it. Like the small town Bonspiels I love. Like Lethbridge has a fairly big one called the Shirt Sleeve. I've been in it twice. It's a bigger one. It's in the city and it's a more time commitment. Like you're curling Tuesday to Sunday and it's Super Bowl Sunday. Like I don't get it, but nonetheless, small town Bonspiels are so much fun. Like Fort McLeod, I've been in it a lot, and the guys I curl with, we put a couple teams into the Tabor Bonspiel. Like we went there with 2 teams 6 of the last 8 years, and we have fun. It's just boys being boys, dudes being guys.
If you go in with lower expectations, I guess, and then whatever happens after that's bonus, that's how you should attack a Bonspiel per se, in my opinion.
Yeah. And a quick story. Like there's a draw to the pin competition that they do Friday night with the beer bash and blah blah blah, and they put up a board, so you can bet on it, and then you have to pick first and second. And so the very first year we were in, we made it to the final, and I bought a bunch of tickets like on the board. So you get 50% of the pot if you have the winning ticket, 30% of the pot if you win the contest, and 20 if you're second place.
Yeah.
So the very first year we made it all the way to the final. I won't go into that. But then I was like, oh shit, I got some betting tickets. And I had the ticket with us placing second place to the team that we were in the finals against. And so we threw it through the rings. They won. So we got 50% for having the winning ticket.
Yeah.
And 20% for second. Like it was very funny. And they had the mic and they have the fishbowl up top and no one knew what we were doing. It was hilarious.
There you go.
It was so fun.
It's definitely changed over the years from even when I was a kid. I remember Molson Canadians and whiskeys out on the ice and guys smoking cigarettes. And then you watch the guys on TV nowadays and the guys sweeping the leads and the seconds. They got arms like Hulk Hogan now, and just the way the finesse game has changed a lot, and then the power game has changed a lot. What have you noticed other than the drinking and smoking, Dave, about the game of curling that's changed a lot in the last 10 years, not even 20 or 30?
I think these guys are, I don't know. I honestly don't know who pays for what, but these guys are clearly professional curlers. Their communication and the way they can judge the stones. These guys are so good. It's like when they start playing, I don't know how someone's going to lose, right? There's such a razor thin margin at the top level of curlers now.
No,
whereas back in the day, it was like 2 or 3 guys would just stomp everybody.
Well, you talk about those guys. Like I remember, Kevin Martin, he just won all the time. Him and
if he was in it, he'd win.
He'd win. and they must have the kind of a job. I don't know what these guys do for a living. Probably sell insurance, can come and go as they please or whatever. And I know some guys are also golf course superintendents, so it's they have time obviously because golf courses aren't open. But Kevin Martin and John Morris, just legends of the game. They were a great two-pack of guys that just would win year after year and go to the Olympics and gold medals and everything else. And you look on the women's side, and she passed away from cancer at an early age. Schmerler, the curler from Regina, Saskatchewan, or from, I'm not sure Regina, but somewhere in Saskatchewan, just unbeatable. And then Jennifer Jones overtook that, and she was unbeatable for a long time.
Colleen Jones for a long time.
Yeah. No, these guys that just last forever. And it's funny, every year you see these guys on TV, and it's like, oh, he's still going. These guys. And I've been to a couple curling events, and even though they're the professionals, I guess, and they're the athletes on the ice, I guess you could call them, they don't mind getting down.
Yeah, no, I don't think as much as they used to, but yeah, they'll take a tour through the Briar Patch, which is the beer gardens of the thing. Yeah,
they don't mind getting down at all. Another guy that was great, one of the greatest shots. Maybe I'll find it and put it up on our Facebook or YouTube or whatever account, social media accounts. Dave Nedewin and Randy Ferbin. Nedewin, he threw skip stones because he was so good, but he didn't see the game the way that Furby did, I guess, and just the way that all worked out. Or else Furby was just too lazy to sweep one of the two. Who knows?
Well, no, I think it was just Nedewin had like Furby just didn't have the physique or power or consist. Like it was, I think it was a physical thing, but like whatever. Like he still threw third and threw pretty good.
One of the things that changed in my lifetime early, the corn broom, and then it was the cloth corn broom, I guess you could call it, and then it went to the push broom. With the cigarette hanging out, wasn't that a fire hazard with the dart hanging out of their mouth with the corn broom? Wouldn't it have been?
Well, no, there's ice everywhere, right? I couldn't imagine, but people smoking on the ice, like it would, like you'd be surprised, like that 60-pound rock or however heavy it is, like it picks up a hair that just goes sideways with all the ash and corn broom dust and stuff like that. Like I imagine you really had to fucking huck that thing.
Curling's a great time. In Fort McLeod, they just got rid of the ashtrays were there till not that long ago, and they're still embedded in the ice where they used to be from 20 years ago. And man, the Bonspiels were a great time. And if you get a chance to participate in curling, go out, support your local rink, because they need it. They need the memberships and everything else. It's a couple hours a week. They'll love the memberships. You can join, learn the curl leagues, like Dave was saying. In Lethbridge, they have it, and I'm sure they have it in every major city throughout our countries. Our American listeners, give it a shot. I don't know if there's how readily available curling rinks are in most centers. I know
it's
in Colorado
a growing sport. They're the defending gold medal winners. The American, yeah.
So give it a shot, anyways, because it's a riot. And if you get a chance to just go to a Bonspiel, you'll see some stuff you haven't seen before in your life, I'm sure. Question before we leave the curling thing, Dave. If you're going to an out-of-town Bonspiel, say it's a 4-day event, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and you're leaving Sunday, how many pairs of underwears are you packing just in case?
Oh, like 10. I hate, like, you know, you have your game gaunch. You need fresh gaunch for every game, and then you shower, and then, like, even with curling, there's still game worn. So you got to freshen up.
And then there's the just in case later on that night.
Right, because if you don't have time for a shower, then there's always time to change your gaunch.
There you go. So 10 pairs of gaunch for a 4-day curling event. Anyways, get a chance to go out there, curl. 1420 podcast. The producer made some new shirts on Saturday night, Sunday morning. She finalized design. They're going to print now. Get your pre-orders in. They're quite fantastic. 3/4 length sleeves, just in time for softball season, because I have high hopes that softball is going to be happening this year. COVID vaccines are happening fast and furious. So I have high hopes that we're going to be out there in April, hitting the ball and swinging and throwing it around.
Isn't it called slow pitch?
slow pitch, softball, same thing, whatever, isn't it?
I don't know. Isn't softball like where they do the windmill thing and slow pitch is the underhand high toss?
I don't play either, so I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, neither do I.
Anyways, get a shirt. They're great designs, 4 different colors that we have to choose from, and make sure you get your pre-orders in now. We touched on this a few times in the 1420 podcast about instant replay, how it's changed the game, officials, calls that should have been overturned. Dave, we touched on this a few times. Is there one that stands out in your mind a lot that go, man, oh man, could you only imagine what could have happened? And like, we'll obviously we'll talk about like the end of games ones now, but later on, let's talk about something that could happen in the third period of a game or second period of a hockey game that doesn't really matter, you don't think, but how a game could just progressively change. Is sports better with instant replay?
I think it is. I think it is. It's a drag when they got to wait and things. And we've touched upon this, like that offside challenge in hockey is absolutely friggin' ridiculous, I think. But to make sure, like NFL, they've really sped it up. I think they're at the forefront. Every scoring play is reviewed, and they're usually pretty quick. Every turnover is reviewed. It's refereeing is a hard job. These players are so fast, so strong, and mistakes are going to get made. And so, like, especially on scoring plays or game or plays that have a direct effect on the game result, I think replay is a good thing.
Yeah, it's funny that it took as long as it did. Yeah, technology is a lot better than it was 20, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, or yesterday, really, with the way technology changes. It's surprising that it took this long, especially when Sony was at the forefront of everything, and the amount of money that can be won and lost, not just with franchises, but the betting industry, because there's a lot of money that's been lost because of a bad call.
Well, on the flip side, right? Like that's why the line is set, right? There's just as much money. They try and get it so there's as much money on each side of the line, right? So I won't feel sorry for Vegas because of instant replay.
We talked about it a bit off air, but there's one and we're both being a little stumped on it, but I think we came to a conclusion. If anybody who's listening can verify this for us, once again, the 1420 podcast, we don't verify things or do any research really. The Music City Miracle, was that, it wasn't a video replay, it was just all the referees on the field, they decided to make a call, correct?
Yeah, like how I remember that the miracle being the lateral for the Tennessee Titans against the Bills, correct?
I believe so.
And they ran it back and it was really close, like it was a pass, but it was a lateral. And there was no instant replay at the time, but I remember seeing it so many times. I watched that game live.
I thought for sure that it was a forward pass when I first watched it live.
Yeah, and I didn't know, but like when I saw the replays ad nauseum, even though it didn't make a difference, it looked to me to be a legit play.
Actually, I did. It was the Buffalo Bills for sure, because I was sitting with a Bills fan. Like, I know for sure, Stan Turk was his name. He's a Bills fan. And he said, there's no way. He thought for sure the game was over because it was a forward pass. He thought, yeah, it's done. So he was happy. And then when they made sure the call, he was quite sad afterwards.
So you believe that there was a replay review on that play?
No, I think that the officials all got together, flipped a coin, and said, well, here's what we think.
Yeah.
Because why would the line judge or the guy carrying the flags, he wouldn't be watching?
Well, there is a guy to watch it. Like, I would assume, like, the line judge or whoever's at that place is like, okay, we got to watch for laterals now. Like, this is
what's their job? Yeah, I mean, same as umpires,
yeah,
fair fouls and everything else. When the time is, but for all the officials to get in a circle because there's a lot of football guys. There's 7 or 8 of them out in the field.
Yeah.
A few of them must have said, I don't know, man. Like I was watching over here. I don't know.
And at one point, it just comes down to you two. Like, so what did you see? What did you see? Because one guy's downfield looking for clipping and holding, right?
He's looking for a date after the game.
Something, right?
Something.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Is eventually like the other 5 were saying, okay, you two come up with it because you were closest and we'll back you guys. Well, here's the story.
Yeah. And then I'm out of here.
Yeah. And then no one knows my name. And before the internet was huge and everything else, everything was going on. Touched on this one the other day a little bit on the show. The Jeffrey Mayer, Jeter, Richie Garcia in the outfield. That's one call that how that got blown in the 96 ALCS or DCS. That's a bit of a mystery because like they add the outfield umpires to the postseason, and that guy was right there and blew that call. And that's when there was no replay.
It's mystifying sometimes to how an official can blow a call. Like it's just, I like to your point. It's like you're right. You're right there. You're watching it happen live, and it's your job to.
And that would have been Garcia's only call of the game.
Like I don't know. Like I don't know. Like I have no idea.
Yeah, and the thing with that is that it would have been an out in the inning. Baltimore was up in the game. It tied the game, and the rest is history. And Bernie Williams hit a home run the 11th. It's astonishing that happens. The one that makes me laugh a lot, and you can chime in on this a lot more, Dave, is in 1999, the toe in the crease rule. Goals were getting disallowed left and right nonstop. It was absolute insanity the entire hockey season. And of course, the season ended with Brett Hull, toe in the crease, spun around, rebound goal, blah, blah. Dallas wins the Stanley Cup. Celebration ensues. One, why was there not any replay on that? And 2, what would have happened if they would have had to come and pick up all their equipment and try to play the game again? When the elation happened that they just won, they allegedly won the Stanley Cup, and then they go, no, you didn't. Put your stuff back on. We're playing again.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but even back then, they went to replay for toe in the crease. Even goals were getting disallowed all the time.
If a skate lace was in the crease, it was, and they changed the rule that summer.
It was so frustrating, and all year, all playoffs, except for the one goal that decided the Stanley Cup. I'll never understand that. It was more clear than probably 10% of the goals that got taken off the board that season.
It's astonishing that they allowed it to happen. But at that point, there's champagne's flowing, the confetti's coming on the ice, the guys are jumping around. How do you say, oh, we're just kidding?
You got to, it's tough. You got to. You got to. The rule, and it could be that Stanley Cup. I really did not like either team. That was Buffalo with Hasek and the Hatcher, Belfour Stars. I really dislike both those teams.
Yeah, they weren't really it wasn't really a sexy matchup by any means that the rest of the nation or even our country here was watching a lot. It's astonishing that was allowed. Maybe it was just get these two teams off the ice, and this debacle of a season. That rule is such a wreck, and it's fitting that a rule came back to bite the NHL the way it did.
Exactly, a ridiculous rule. Anytime you have a rule, it seems like it's always in hockey, that you understand the intentions, and the intention was to give the goalie space and to keep from bumping. but just giving him that little safe zone was a step too far, and they tried and they pulled back. The other one in hockey is that puck over the glass 2 minutes. Like
Awful rule.
it yeah, it is. There has to be some kind of gray area in that, but I also understand why they have to call it, right?
One that I think was a fumble. 2001 AFC Championship game. Tom Brady against the Oakland Raiders. They called it no fumble. To me, it was clearly a fumble. What's your take on that one and how that got overturned? Didn't get overturned. I
What
don't
was
get
it,
it.
like in the motion or something? Because I agree with you. Like at the time, it was the motion or I forget the exact lingo, but I'm a Raider hater, so I was glad to see that happen. And and then the legend was born after that, right? Then they went on to beat the Rams.
That's it. The worst call. I don't know if you remember this one, David. You were it was 85, so whatever, however you were in 85. The worst call in baseball history that there was no Don Deckinger, the umpire, Kansas City Royals, St. Louis Cardinals. Look it up on YouTube.
The Pine Tar?
No, that was
Oh,
that was the
George.
Royals and the Yankees. That was a rules infraction, not a out or a safe, but it's in the World Series. St. Louis Cardinals. Look it up. The guy was out by step and a half, and Don Deckinger rolled behind first base in foul territory. Emphatically called a guy safe, and he really wasn't, and changed the course of the World Series. You just wonder what could happen. You see these guys like it's you got to get the outs and everything else, and it's just like, how did you blow that call?
Is baseball, check me on this one. Uh Getting an umpire gig in the playoffs is all about years and years of service.
They know it might have used to be, but they do it a lot now. They get evaluated throughout the year, and how your evaluation stands out throughout the season.
Oh, okay.
So if you have a good year, you get a playoff assignment.
Oh, okay.
Unless you're Joe West and you just get grandfathered in, apparently, and Angel Hernandez. There's I'll find it and I'll put it on Twitter and Facebook. I'll send you it too. The somebody with, people are funny. It was a meme, whatever you want to call him. Angel Hernandez, missed call. Like someone was trying to call him. First day of the exhibition season, Angel Hernandez, 3 missed calls. It was just one of those funny things. I don't know. He's terrible, but it's funny stuff. Dave, do you want to touch on one that is it replaying soccer now?
For goal scoring, for sure. Like they now
There's
have
only the one official and the sideline guys, right?
correct. Yeah. So there's 3 officials, 2 linesmen, and the referee. And they do have now, I know in the big name games, obviously, the goal line review, like if it's a goal. And you know what? Like I'm not 100% like as far as fouls. Like they can look at things after the fact, but like I do believe the ref really on the field runs the show, and but his 2 linesmen can also be his
Chime in
thumbs.
if need be. Reason I
Yeah,
ask is that
exactly.
did a little bit of research today on the officials and replays and everything else, was the Diego Maradona hand of God goal. That could have changed history. Things burning down and people getting murdered, and how soccer is, and the craziness and the violence in stadiums, how it used to be in the 80s. That could have been disastrous if they overturned that goal.
Yeah, and like and what year was that? 85?
85, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Like that, like technology wasn't there for the replays, and what do? They missed it. They missed the rest missed it. And like if you watch it, like it's Hand of God Maradona is what you have to search for. You can see how they missed it. And you know what? It's kind of one of those things, and it's England packing for the World Cup, and I'm never sad when those guys pack their bags either.
No, I'm not ever going to say being an official is an easy thing. It is tough. I have said before in the podcast that if in the WCBL they bring in instant replay and everything, that's when I call her good again for their 20 years, because I don't need to be told how dumb I am. It's hard. And if you know you make a mistake, you make a mistake. And it's lower league baseball, obviously, but I don't know. For higher level, when their stakes are high, I get it. But for lower levels, the players make a lot of mistakes. Let the officials make some mistakes too.
Oh yeah, but there's nothing wrong with a fan yelling "You suck, Blue." There's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's fine. I paid my ticket, and if I think you suck, I'm gonna let you know.
What's funny is that with the new uniforms they have for baseball, not one stitch of blue on an umpire anymore, but they still call them blue.
You blurbed.
Anyways, there's not one stitch of blue on an umpire unless you wear the baby blue jersey, which you never wear. But they still call you blue. Anyways, make sure you guys talk to people about the show. We're passing the 4,700 mark now, or 5,700 mark, sorry. Going really well. We're on every possible platform you could possibly imagine. There's been a little bit of work on the backside to find those, but we're everywhere you could possibly find a podcast. And like, share, retweet, whatever you got to do to let people know about the 1420 podcast. And we'll keep putting out the content for you guys. In the most unemotional sporting event ever played on national television, the NBA All-Star game occurred on Sunday night, with Team LeBron beating Team Durant 170 to 150. Defense isn't a factor in the NBA All-Star game. It's the NHL All-Stars has tried different things, the 3-on-3, the tournament, how they tried it. Baseball, they got rid of the win, and the winning team hosts the World Series. The NFL, they've moved the game to before the Super Bowl instead of after Super Bowl. Dave, is it time for these things, like the actual game itself, not the weekend, to celebrate the game? I think that's important still. But is it time for the actual game to be put to pasture, and that's enough?
I 100% agree. 100%. There is no reason, because what makes the different games great is their competitiveness, and you can't be competitive in an all-star game and risk getting hurt. Like, it's like, especially in football, hockey, and basketball, it's such an athletic, hard game. The only one where the game I kind of makes a little bit of sense is baseball, and the reason I say that is the rosters are so long, so big. Each pitcher gets 1 or 2 innings, and that's it. And there's not as much risk to health playing a baseball game than there is to.
Yeah, the one thing about the Major League Baseball All-Star game is, at the end of the day, for the game of baseball to work, whether you're in Little League or in the World Series or in the All-Star game or whatever it is, if the pitcher doesn't throw the ball across the plate, nothing can happen. So that's the only game that needs the actual game to be the game, if that makes any sense. Like, no matter what, that has to happen. And baseball is a sport where it's mano against mano to make the other guys do their thing. If a pitcher, like if Garrett Cole wants to show off his stuff, he's going to. Like, one of the best pitching performances ever, I can't remember what year was, Pedro Martinez was lights out, struck 5 out of 6 guys, and it was like, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to show the world how great I am. And I think that's the only sport that can do that, because he said, these guys are, I'm going to be throwing against the greatest batters right now. And he did it. The other sports need the supporting cast.
Yeah, the supporting cast, and also, like, there's going to be physical contact, like in hockey and football. And like, why would why would someone risk getting hurt? And especially like in an exhibition game, someone's kind of like lollygagging, and all of a sudden you got some hardcore Harry over there just lights you up. It's like, what the fuck? This is an exhibition game, man. Like, what are you doing? Like Pete Rose blowing up that catcher.
Yeah, and there's a guy Ray Fosse, I believe his name was. Last night they had the 82 or 83 NHL All-Star game out of Nassau Coliseum in New York, and Gretzky scored 4 goals in the COVID in the third period and game MVP and everything else, and you could tell that those players cared a lot because conference and there was a lot of teammates playing. Like, there was 4 or 5 Oilers in that team, and they cared a lot. You don't see that now. It's 30 some years later, obviously, but players stayed with teams a lot longer back then. Free agency wasn't such a huge thing. Do you think that adds to what All-Star games are now? Like an American League guy was an American League guy. A National League guy was a National League guy. An Oiler was an Oiler. And the Oilers hated the Islanders, and they wanted to show what they were all about. Is that?
No, I think that's an excellent point. Player movement back in the day amongst all the leagues was, I won't say non-existent, but it was a rarity. A guy played for maybe 1 or 2 teams in his career. There's no suitcase players like there are now, right? You don't bounce, and then so even after like 6 years in the league, I imagine more than half the NHLers are on their second team, and that includes superstars. And so the All-Star game is now a chance to reunite, to visit, to catch up amongst players, and not renew a rivalry between franchises.
You wonder why I mean, you can't force anyone to do anything, but I think you can because they have contracts. But why wouldn't the NBA say, LeBron, for the good of the game and for advertising dollars and everything else, and we'll put another $1 million in your bank account. No, he doesn't need any more. Be part of the dunk competition. Back when we were kids, Dave, Jordan was part of the dunk competition. Dominique Wilkins was part of the dunk competition. The only one that guys participate in now that are the best at that is the 3-point show. Can the NBA make the dunk competition mandatory for the superstars?
Absolutely not, because the superstars have nothing to gain. They have absolutely nothing to gain. There's so many guys with crazy hops these days. There's guys that are better dunkers than they are basketball players, right? That's what they practice.
Yeah, but the problem with that, Dave, is nobody cares about the average player. I want to see LeBron. Like I would tune in if LeBron was part of it.
But like, he's so big and makes it look so easy. Like, what creative thing is he going to do?
Raising that 2 inches, I don't know. I don't.
Neither do I. But like, he has absolutely nothing to gain. Like, he can't be as creative as some of these smaller no names who've been practicing their dunks since they've been 17.
So, because to me, a dunk's like I'm not going to tune in. A dunk's and whatever. You spin around, jump over a car. They had guys doing. They had gimmicky things, and Superman with Howard a few years back and everything else. The skills competitions are kind of fun to watch. The NHL did a few years back. Maybe it's time to just give the guys the weekend off.
Like, why not? Like, maybe make them fly for the meet and greets and whatever. And I don't mind. Like, the home run derby is kind of fun, but they're really dragging that out, right? Like, I don't.
Well, when they changed it a couple years back to the speed derby, when they get 5 minutes, this many balls, they get a timeout. That was interesting for sure. But when it was just bat after bat, guys just hitting it bomb after bomb, and then hearing Chris Berman say back. Okay, yeah, I get it. It's a home run. the Century 21 gold ball and everything else. It's okay. Is there one out of the four that's just unbearable more than the others?
The All-Star game?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's NFL, the football, because you can't play NFL All-Star. Like you can't. Like it's and then quickly followed by hockey, and that's because that's the contact sport. Like that sport is based on physical contact, and when you can't have it,
They're not
you don't
playing the
have the
game
game.
how it's designed to be played.
Right. Like, and it's just like I can't remember the last All-Star game of I watched, but NHL and NFL, like I can't remember.
I have no idea.
I really can't remember.
Yeah. The skills things I've watched, but the game itself I have not. Would there be a fun baseball thing that if they did a skills competition on the games on a Monday, they did, or the home runs on a Monday, the games on a Tuesday. Is there something you could add to the home run competition, that a skills competition per se? And I'm
Well,
not
like
saying,
me,
like I'm not, you can't say throw the ball as hard as you can because then a guy's rotator cuff goes or his elbow goes and his Tommy John and everything else. You still got to make it safe for the players to play with. Is there something funny you might want to check out that
I would make it totally about the fielding positions because I don't want a pitcher to hurt themselves. Like, they need like the starters, they warm up for 2 hours before a game to throw 20 pitches. I don't want that for my starter. And so I'm not going to worry about it. So like when I'm saying that now, like maybe like have a target system, like as for a singles hitter, like just and put targets in the field, or you call your shot, like just a bloop or whatever, have targets out in the field and you have to call your target. Do you know what I mean when I say that? Kind of shading the thing. Or maybe even same for a right fielder. Like you just turn the pitching machine around, bloop it to him like it's a single, and he has to throw it to home, and then have targets at home at where the catcher catches it.
it would be interesting to see that, because you on a regular basis, like you wouldn't see that during a game. So it might be to see what these guys can actually do on a situation like that. Because it'd be fun to watch that.
Or even tagging up, like have the speedsters on third and hit a bloop out to second, to whatever, just on the outfield. And there's not going to be a play at the plate. So as soon as they see that the guy catch the ball, they're going to break for home and like see who can do it the fastest.
Yeah, and all these players would thank the good Lord above that Ricky Henderson wasn't involved in those, because he would win every competition. There's no doubt about that. Every one of them.
Home run, singles, third to home.
Ricky would probably even go up to pitch and win those ones too.
Well, only if he wanted to.
Only if he wanted to.
Ricky don't got time for that.
Anyways, I hope, like I do hope that one day there is another Major League Baseball All-Star game and everything else comes around, because it is a good exhibition for the fans. We did talk about it a few months ago, Dave. Would you? And I want to see if your opinions change about this now. But would you have no game Sunday of the All-Star induction? No baseball at all. All-Star induction Sunday, not All-Star, Hall of Fame induction Sunday, home run contest Monday, and game Tuesday. Make an event of it.
That's not a terrible idea. I don't think that's a terrible idea at all. And just draw some attention to the greats of the game that are being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Gets lost, eh? Like that Hall of Fame induction gets lost huge in Canada. Like it doesn't get televised at all. I think it's a good idea. I don't know.
It's not a terrible idea at all. But I guess it's the Sunday, like I don't have an exact answer, because if people are going to tune out, they're going to tune out on Sunday just as easy as they're going to tune out in spring training, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. And then what do you do? Like, have all the speeches?
Well,
I
you lose
guess.
a lot of
Why not? Yeah.
with gate revenue and everything else on the Sunday for Kansas City. Kansas City's playing Baltimore on a Sunday. They need that gate revenue anyway, so it's pretty tough to cut that game out.
And during the All-Star game, don't they trot up the Hall of Famers anyways? That year's inductees?
I believe so. There's all kinds of crap going on there, but anyways, the All-Star game, I think it's past its prime. I think it's time to be put to pasture. The NHL's tried to remodel it a few times. It hasn't worked. I don't watch it. People I know don't watch it. I think it's the one in Canada that's lost the most luster. Kids don't care. It's just different. The NFL, it's NBA Saturday night. It's MLB. It's good, but I think it's time that they need to just maybe call it. I think call it. I know it's good. It's good for sponsors, good for revenue, but it's not what it used to be by any means. And
Even the All-Star game, like for the NHL, like why not make it an old timers game, right? They just get some of those old fucks out there skating around. Because the marquee event for fans in the NHL has become these outdoor games. Like those pictures of the outdoor game from Lake Tahoe were stunning.
yeah,
It was really cool.
little trouble with the ice the first day, but after the second day, they kind of figured it out. But yeah, no, that's not a bad idea, Dave. Like have the skills competition Saturday night, then old timers games on Sunday, because it's the players don't care they don't.
And why would they? Like, and the NBA, like having the All-Star game, I still like. This is such a head scratcher to me. I'll never understand this. Like, what is it like? Just for the TBS contract, so they can fulfill that. So I don't know. I don't even know if it's TBS,
TNT.
but like TNT. Like, so for is probably for the TV contract. So the next year's negotiations, they can't say you owe us an All-Star game. I can't think of any other explanation
To have
that
the
makes
one this
sense to
year,
me.
there's no reason for it. No.
No, I don't get it.
Anyways, we beat this one to death a little bit tonight, but it's a good conversation. I hope people get back to us on the social media accounts and everything else. Yeah, it's odd. We're struggling to get through life, and we're so close. Everybody, make sure when you be safe still, don't get too cocky and whatever else is going on, because we're so close to getting through this, and we can maybe have a decent spring and a summer, because we definitely she's been a tough run, to say the least. There's no getting around that. Keep listening to the 1420 podcast. Let people know about the show. We appreciate all the support we've been getting to this point, and make sure you talk to others about the show. Thank you very much. The older we get, as I said in the opening, the older we get, there seems to be more and more kids that are playing professional sports that are the sons or nephews or whatever it is of guys that we admired as athletes back in the day. Dave, you go from the Kachucks and those two Amazon kids that he brought up. Let's get into that for a second. Could you imagine the walls in the Kachuk household, wherever they grew up, maybe in St. Louis, because that's where Keith Kachuk played most of his career? Could you imagine what that house would look like with those two wild men scouting around?
I would imagine they had a super big garage that had holes in the drywall everywhere. I imagine if sticks and pucks, like once shit started getting broken in the house, as I get to the garage, if one more thing, like we're gonna get someone's hide's gonna get tanned. Imagine corporate punishment was a viable option in the Kachuk. I don't know. I'm not calling anyone a child abuser, but slapping the ass is the first step forward.
That might not have been a thing, because Keith Kachuk was a bit of he was a wild man himself on the ice, and didn't mind getting down a little bit. And those boys, how they play in the NHL, and they probably tamed down since they were kids. My God, I don't mind the way those two kids play. I really don't.
It's one of those things, like they're an absolute pest, and you want them to just shut up and play, but the pests are an effective pest is is one of the best weapons ever. Like Marchand in Boston, like he's Hall of Fame pest.
Yeah.
And he's good. And so are these Kachuk boys.
Yeah. Like you look at now we're into the siblings and the kids that more and more athletes have kids that are now playing in the big leagues or in the NHL or basketball or whatever it is. And it's more of a trend. I think more so in hockey a lot, maybe because we hear a lot more hockey talk, obviously on the radio and everything else. But it seems more of a trend than it was when we were kids. You didn't hear a lot of second generation athletes back when we were kids, Dave, compared to what you hear now. And I know it's a financial thing that because sports is a lot more expensive now than it was 20 and 30 years ago. Other than the financial thing, Dave, why are there more second generation athletes than there were 20 or 30 years ago?
Well, I think you can't even have this conversation without talking about money, because it is all about money. It's about money, it's about exposure, and clearly genetics has something to do with it as well. Probably the first one father-son that I remember in any sport was Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr., right? They played together on the Mariners
in Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's clearly a genetic thing. Bobby Bonds, his son would probably be in the Hall of Fame if he didn't do steroids. It's genetics, but then having the opportunity specifically in hockey to have the ice time, to have the instruction, to have the exposure. It's a big thing, and I think you're going to see it more and more and more in hockey. Well, as you are, as opposed to the other sports where like pure athleticism and where someone can work on the game without dishing out a ton of money and having to wake up at 5 a.m. for ice time. Like, am I making sense when I say that? Like, it has to be hockey.
Yeah, it's crazy. The one family that did it, I don't, as well, was the Boone family. Aaron Boone, Bobby Boone was the father. Aaron and Brett Boone, also growing up. That was one family. But I remember actually watching the Boone boys play in Lethbridge in the Elks tournament, and I think to me that was
Where are they from?
Orange County, because Bobby played for the California Angels.
Oh, okay.
The way that all turned out. I mean, then money and everything else turned out in their favor, obviously. But back then, and this is 50 years ago, when Bobby Boone was playing baseball, they weren't making a ton of dough back then.
No, they were comfortable, but yeah, there wasn't fuck you money. There's no doubt about that.
Well, that generation of second generation guys, they had to be somewhat able to do it.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't a ton of money to, like you said, fuck you money to put these kids through camps and schools and academies and programs and everything else. They had to have a way. They had to be pretty good.
No, and I completely agree.
I know I'm kind of
simplifying, but then like that was also the time and place. Like even when we were kids 30 years ago, the ultra competitiveness of sport and specialized camps and specializing and summer leagues and spring leagues and all these leagues, that wasn't a thing either.
Wasn't a thing.
No, like every ice rink in Lethbridge, Alberta, like they pulled the ice after hockey season, and they were whatever.
I remember playing ball hockey at Henderson, in the summertime. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they didn't keep the ice in all summer.
Yeah.
Now, like I think they do. Like I'd be surprised if they didn't.
If you were an NHL GM, a baseball GM, do you go for the pedigree of the name a little bit? Like it doesn't hurt, obviously.
No, clearly it works, and and like and one other name I didn't mention, I can't believe I didn't, was Peyton Manning. Peyton and Eli Manning, sons of a Hall of Famer, right? Like Like as far as a threesome, father to son, and with father with two sons.
No,
They
there's a
could be
third
the
son. What's
great.
his name? There's a third son.
You're right. You're right.
And he has a stint on NFL Game Day or whatever it is.
It's a name like Hunter, but I'm not sure if it is.
Or yeah, it's like between Peyton and Hunter and Peyton and Eli. It's like it's not Dave or Brent. It's a Southern name a little bit and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and he played university ball as a receiver, but then it was a medical condition, is why he had to give up the.
Because he had a pretty good segment on one of those NFL Sunday morning things on CBS or whatever it was. Yeah, no, he's good. No, yeah, there's another one you forget about. The pedigree, there's just one pedigree, especially being from Lethbridge, Dave, the Sutter family, how they've had some sons that play the National Hockey League as well, or played junior. Daryl Sutter traded his son at one point from Calgary. That would, if you're an owner, do you say maybe that's pushing a little bit? You can't have your kid playing for your team.
I agree. I think it's a bad look. Like, just the appearance of impropriety is what you have to avoid.
Because people hate it in minor hockey.
Oh yeah, no, and I get it. Like, and it's a valid complaint because, and I will say this: I can understand why he's just there because he's a coach's kid. But that coach's kid gets his ass chewed if he had a bad game on the way home.
In the back of the station wagon, for sure. Yeah.
What were you thinking? And then the mom's up front, like, no, dear, it's okay. It's going to be okay. It's not okay. He cost the team the game. That was the stupidest penalty ever. Why don't you keep your two hands on your fucking stick?
Yeah.
But whatever.
That ground ball or whatever. Yeah, it's
whatever. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but I can see, especially when you're competitive, I can see a coach's son really not getting the benefit of the doubt on the car ride home.
Do you think if you're a son of an NHLer or a son of a Major League Baseball player, a son of an NFLer, is there extra added pressure on that kid amongst his peers, not from the parents? Let's leave parents out of this. If your dad's Barry Bonds, or if your dad's Wayne Gretzky, or those are big names, obviously, are you expected to be a little bit better?
I think so, yes. But even as a kid,
let's go amongst the peers first. Amongst the peers.
Okay, like as a 16-year-old or as a 25-year-old?
14 years old, and your dad is a Russ Courtnall.
If you're playing the same sport as your old man,
yeah,
everybody on the team knows who you are and who your old man is.
Yeah,
and it would be a bit of a cross to bear, and I'm sure and I hope the fathers and the mothers have prepared their kid for it. Like, some people are going to want to rip you down, but this is who we are, and just be the best you can be, and we'll take it from there. Like, I think those kids are raised with not so much expectations, but with the knowledge that what people might expect from them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Would you rather be the son of if you're playing that sport, of a fourth line plug named Jake Winters, or I used his name already tonight, a guy who had a pretty good career, not a Hall of Fame career, but a guy like Russ Courtnall who told around the league for a little bit? Would you rather be Russ Courtnall's son or Jake Winters' son if you were a minor hockey player who was just an average player? Because the expectation level, I think the expectation level for a fourth line guy, a fourth line son, to a really good player's son, it would be pretty different.
I hear what you're saying, but like when you're a kid, all you know is what you're exposed to and what your mom and dad tell you to do, and like, well, not tell you to do, teach you, and so like parenting's such a big thing for these kids, and I don't know, like if you come from a stable house, you've been raised differently already because dad's away for work, and once you got to school age, like you're moving along. And I'm assuming you would live in the same city where dad's playing hockey, and then when school's out, which is thank God around the same time hockey's done, then you go someplace else for the summer.
Hang on the
Like you
beach
have
or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, you have a different life, or go like if you're a BC boy, you have a place in Kelowna, or at Predator Ridge, or you have a place in Montana, or you have a place someplace.
Yeah.
Like you have a summer home and winter home.
Yeah. It's just I've heard it a few times where you hear a few parents in the corner where the guy's half drunk or whatever, and he says, "Oh, he ain't as good as his fucking dad," or shitty like his dad was, or something. And it's astonishing to me how parents can be that way. It's scary how it can be that way, actually.
Well, and I can imagine too. You have all these glory days boys walking around, and like, oh, I remember his old man. I lit him up one thing. He tried sliding that cheese by me, and now like it's just, and then that's why these guys are hanging out at Lloyd Nolan Yard watching baseball and thinking about the past, right?
Yeah.
Like it's, and I would imagine like in every small town USA, you always have your minor league heroes or your high school heroes who
What
now their claim to fame is they got a full ride scholarship to Ohio State kind of thing, right?
yeah. What like the second generation athlete, do you hope if they're guy like well who the Jays got? They got Bichette and who's the other one?
Guerrero, Vlad.
Vladdy Guerrero, and then there's the third.
Well, those two are second generations, both those guys,
No,
right?
there's a third one. Also played for the Astros.
Kyle Drabeck.
No, well maybe. There's Bichette, Guerrero. Oh, and I can't think of it. Do you think they can call their dad nightly basis and go, "Hey, this it would be a benefit."
Oh, without a
Like we talked,
doubt.
like we focused on this segment on the negative a little bit, but once a kid is good, establish himself, like eventually you got to be good enough to play in the big leagues. You have to.
Yeah, like you hit or you don't.
And having a father that played in the big leagues, I think especially in baseball, where you can call your dad and say, "Hey, man, I'm struggling a little bit." Like, wouldn't that be a good thing to have your dad say, "Well, here's what you got to do. Your hands are here. This is happening here." Uh, Biggio, Bichette, Biggio,
Yes,
Bichette, Biggio. I
you're
knew it
right.
would come to me. Like for the Jays to have, and then even then, the Jays will have multiple baseball dads, like that can maybe, hey, it's going to be okay. It's not a bad thing to have.
Oh, and Hall of Famers too. Isn't
Yeah,
Biggio a Hall of Famer?
I
Yeah.
believe so. Yeah,
But you're completely right. Like, and it's not even like I don't know. Like, your approach at the plate, like that's so far out of my thing. Like, is that what you're asking your dad, or are you asking your dad just about the ins and outs? Like fuck, like what does this happen and this happen, and there's just finding your zen and like what worked for you, dad. Like
yeah.
what worked for you, and then a dad would always say, "What does coach say?" And then they were like, "He's full of shit. This is what you do."
Like the distractions that can occur on a nightly basis and a daily basis and everything else. And how did you deal with this and everything? Like to have your father as a big leaguer, not like yeah. I think that's got to be a huge benefit.
Oh yeah, like like just in anything, like whatever your father does, and if you follow in their footsteps, like a lawyer or a musician or whatever, like
Yeah.
it's like if you have that groundwork in the training.
Could you? She said musician. Could
I don't know why I said that. It's kind of funny. It's like
like
musician. Why the fuck you
like
say
you say if you're a musician, like if Tommy Lee's kids became musicians, I don't know what they
that?
do. Dad, how did you handle that fourth DUI? And like mom, she was nuts, but she was hot. And,
I went to
what,
Van
what,
Halen in Calgary, and Wolfgang, his son, was playing bass. Like
yeah,
Anthony, who didn't play bass, it
yeah,
was Eddie Van Halen's son.
fun. Yeah, Van Halen's one of the best for sure. But yeah, just how like Dad, how did you handle being a drunken drug addict rock star? Well, son, here's what you
Always
do.
always carry penicillin and rubbers in your thing. Like
And
just
here's a
never be
lawyer's
without them.
number. Here's the
And
lawyer's
here's the
number.
yeah, the
And
fixer, the wolf.
here's
Yeah.
my American Express card. It's fine. But that's funny. If you're a rock star.
Musician. Yeah.
Yeah, well, here's how you do it. I don't even know. Best father-son team, you got to go with who?
Well, I like Archie and Peyton and Eli is pretty money to me. I don't know who's really better.
Mahomes, his dad played he played
He
baseball.
had, yeah, he was a middler, but like a 15-year career, 20-year career.
Traveled around, played here and there, whatever.
Always a job for a left-hander that can throw strikes, right?
There you go. No, we just seem to be seeing a lot more. And like I said, and I shouldn't have set you up to fail a little bit there because money's huge. I mean, to have enough money and your kid sees you doing it and you're your kid's role model. They want to do what their dad did. And it's huge when you can put your kid in the best academies and everything else and this and training. And it's going to make it not easy because it's still hard to play professional sports, but it's going to make things a lot easier for sure.
Well, and the Lou's, I just remembered that too in baseball. Felipe and Moises.
Moise Alou, and then Felipe had a brother as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Whatever his name.
I wouldn't even know. I have no idea.
Looking back, I talked about this on the weekend edition of the 1420 podcast, Dave. And does Alou make that catch on the Bartman play?
It was close. I remember it happening, and I remember seeing it ad nauseum. 50-50. 50-50. Like I think
got to go a little bit more one way or the other, Dave. That's a pretty pedestrian.
I think Bartman.
We've known each other a long time, and you can't give a 50-50 answer. Like, well, maybe. Well, yeah, no shit.
You're right. Without Bartman there, Moises Alou had a 38% chance of making that catch.
Yeah, it's tough. That's a tough play in an empty stadium.
It was no gimme, and he had it like jump like 10 feet in the air. Bartman clearly got in his way, but without Bartman, you don't know where the ball was really arcing. I would say Alou had a 38% chance of making that play.
The temper tantrum he threw make it seem like he had a better chance of catching that.
Correct. Totally correct.
That's my thoughts on that. Anyways.
It's just fun when a team's working on at that point, a 97-year curse.
But I talked about on the show the other day, like if he doesn't make that play, there was still 7 more runs scored anyways because Gonzalez made an error that inning and everything else. So
yeah,
whatever. No, it's crazy. You wonder, and I talked about this the other day on the show. We'll end it not on a negative note, but make you go and want people to get back to me a little bit on this one. We're just talking about parents, and I'm a little afraid of what might occur once COVID's done. And hear me out for a second here, because a lot of kids lost out on a year of sports, I'm I'm a little concerned with what the next year might bring up with parents and minor sports. I think we might see some really ugly stuff that might not be a lot of fun with the pushing kids a little bit more and kids not getting a chance who don't have the opportunity to do it because there's more pushing because the kids a lot. You know I'm getting at a little bit, Dave?
I think I do understand what you're saying. If I understand what you're
Yeah, I'm
saying,
just wording it improperly.
yeah, I completely disagree. Like you're thinking, if what I'm hearing is correct, like parents who or kids in competitive sports, specifically probably from the ages of like 13 to 16, when we're starting to make choices or teams are starting to make selections of we're going to draft them into junior hockey. Are you going to be able to go to university? And now we've missed out on all this development. And so now we got to make up for lost time.
Yeah,
Is that?
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I am going to disagree on that because I think those keeners, and it's going to come down to money, right? It's like those kids, like for whatever sport, whose parents had the ability to put in an outdoor ice rink and the ability to do these kind of things. And it's not just like every kid had to take a step back. Every kid had to take a step back, and the colleges and universities have had to take a step back.
Yeah.
I like the minor leagues in baseball have to take a step back. It's going to be interesting, and I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a blip on the stats or whatever as far as players coming into the league. Like, I don't know. I don't know the answers to these. I understand what you're saying, but I'm going to say no because it actually might be a bit of more of a talent equalizer because it's taken the access and super keeners out of the game because they haven't been able to utilize their wealth and or access for their kids. Yeah. Which means like in 2 years now, maybe more the talented kids who don't have these same opportunities have a chance to level the playing field.
No, I hope you're right. I just seen how hockey's gone and everything's baseball in itself. It's gone the last decade, and it's just been mayhem. I just think that there's going to be a lot more of a press for kids that or for parents to put more of a push on than in past years because they lost on that 1 year and my little Johnny and little Jill hasn't had a chance to show how good they are, and I hope I'm wrong. I just have my
I just at the end of the day, and then maybe COVID, like who knows what it's going to do? It's driving us all a little bit batty in some way or another.
Yeah.
Just to have like take a step back and realize what's important, right? With family and enjoyment of life and just enjoying the things you can do without COVID.
Yeah. It's getting close. I think we're like I said earlier on, we're getting close. Everybody just keep pressing forward. We'll get through this whole thing because she's been a freaking struggle. One of the benefits that has happened through COVID, Dave and I got the 1420 podcast going for your listening pleasure. We're pushing through. We're getting more and more listeners every week. Our listenership is increasing throughout the United States. So come on, Canada, help us out a little bit. We're in more states than I know there are more states in the United States than there are provinces in Canada. I get it, but come on, Canada, keep up with our American friends down there because they're blowing you out of the water right now a little bit for some reason, and I appreciate it, but I don't understand why. But anyways, Dave, any closing remarks you want to get on before we call her a night?
No, not right now. I am ready to get on with the week. It's nice to have these things on Tuesday so we can kind of get the week off to a good start.
Yeah.
Looking forward to having some more jovialness. I bought this baseball book. It's called the Baseball Maniacs Almanac 5th edition. It is fucking awesome. If you're a baseball stat nerd, like Baseball Maniacs Almanac by Burt Randolph Sugar. Buy it. Like I just got it in the mail today. I can't put this thing down. And so, anyways, if you're a baseball freak and baseball has the best stats, this book is it.
So on that note, Thursday night would be the first Dave versus Duskin 1420 trivia showdown. The producer's putting questions down. I have no idea what she's doing. I'm sure she's going to favor the questions in Dave's favor because she doesn't want to make it seem like she's benefiting me. And we've been fighting lately, so whatever. So she might be mad about things, but whatever. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. Anyways, we're having our first trivia showdown on Thursday. There's going to be sports. You can pick either hockey, baseball, or football. And then there is music, pop culture, which will be music or movies.
So like kind of Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah, is how she's going to do it. So there's you have the two topics, and then you can pick your subtopic, and then she's going to go from there. So
fair enough.
It should be fun. That'll be a segment on Thursday. If you guys have any questions, get a hold of the producer somehow, some way that you want us to fail on. It's going to be a lot of fun on Thursday night, and it'll be up Thursday midnight, and then we'll play it on Friday. But it should be entertaining. You'll get to find out how smart Dave and I actually are or aren't at that point. But as always, Dave, geez, I get the burp sometimes. Why is that?
Because you're drinking beer.
Drinking beer and getting old. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Drinking beer and getting old. Anyways, Dave, once again, good times, good show. We'll make sure we get together on Thursday trivia. We're gonna do that movie. What was
Icarus?
Icarus.
It's a bit of a heavy watch because Deuce couldn't get through it. So you guys got.
I fell asleep. I read a book and everything else. I read last night. So I read, watching a movie and reading it at the same time. It's tough for me, and I was up pretty early the morning before. So Icarus, we'll do the trivia and then whatever else we can discuss. Hats for sale. The new T-shirts are for sale. Make sure you guys pick some up to promote the show. We really appreciate everything you're doing. And once again, take care of each other. More importantly, take care of yourself. It's me year round. Keep your stick on the ice. And Dave, what else?
Don't swing at the high ones.
Don't swing at the high ones. And we will talk to you, everybody, on Tuesday nights. There we go. Yeah, I said, don't make the fucking questions